Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Annabelle Fan. She's Director of Capital Markets and Insurance over at Amazon Web Services to discuss her role at AWS, her focus on ID&E initiatives, and we'll also get advice that she would give building a career in technology. Annabelle, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me, Jill, on the last day of Women's History Month. I'm delighted to be here.
And we are delighted to have you. Tell us about your role at AWS.
At AWS, I lead capital markets and insurance for financial services. So I'm responsible for driving the global strategy, execution, and delivery of AWS at some of the world's largest and most important financial institutions like Nasdaq. My team works with our customers to help them transform their existing businesses and bring new innovative solutions to market by leveraging AWS and our services in the cloud.
Let's talk more about that. What is your team at AWS doing to innovate in the capital markets and insurance space?
Well, I think first and foremost, we work backwards with our customers. So we help iterate with them and define their long-term objectives. Many of those objectives are at the board level or board directive, and they're multi-years in the planning. So one of the things that we do is we work backwards with them on that planning. I think a good example is three things that we announced at reInvent, which is our annual conference last December. First and foremost was Adena Friedman, the CEO of Nasdaq, on stage with Adam Selipsky, our CEO, announcing moving the markets to the cloud. So this was an endeavor that we've worked on, the two companies have worked on together for many years. Super exciting to bring to market and make the announcement. I think moving the markets onto the cloud is going to be a watershed moment for the capital markets industry and really transformational, not just for Nasdaq and for AWS, but really for the entire capital markets industry. Being able to deliver new solutions and reduce time to market for different solutions for Nasdaq is going to be incredibly valuable to the industry and a multiplier. Another announcement was Goldman Sachs. So Goldman and we also have been working closely together, and they announced the launch of the Goldman Sachs Financial Cloud for Data, which is basically externalizing their data management and analytics tools and making them available to their clients. So both Goldman and Nasdaq are really pivoting some of their business models to prepare for digital transformation in the next generation of the digital economy.
And Annabelle, how have you or others at AWS worked to mentor and support other women coming up in the technology space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So AWS really espouses a builder culture. And so, we have a lot of initiatives that we develop on our own. And I thought I saw an opportunity a few years ago to develop an affinity group for women in financial services to better structure, support, and promote women's development and their careers. And so in the last 2 years, we've had quite a bit of success. We've been able to sponsor executive coaching, mentorship program, a lot of other forums for our members, men and women, to sort of form a tight-knit community and really leverage the curriculum that we've been providing. And I think that these affinity groups really help drive a lot of support internally for women's development.
What roles have other women played in your life as you've made your journey in the technology space and to support your career?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of career changes, but I think I've always had strong female role models and mentors starting from when I was in law school. I had two professors, Lori Damrosch and Martha Feynman. And at the time I was deciding whether I should pursue research after law school, which is not a general entry point for most people who graduate from law school. And they provided a lot of coaching and guidance to me. And so since then, every change that I've had in my career, I've reached out to my network of female and male role models to really gain the benefit in hindsight of making decisions, which I think is really important.
And Annabelle, let's go back to the AWS partnership with Nasdaq. How has that strengthened your network of women in tech and in business?
Nasdaq has such an impressive talent pool of women leaders, starting with Adena Friedman and then across every line of business and functional domain. I have to say it's been a real pleasure for me personally and for my team to work with many of these women. And I think one thing that's been particularly inspiring is when you see the female representation in the meetings that we have. It's very high. It's unusually high, I think, in both what's been traditionally male-dominated tech and financial services industries. When you see the number of women in our meetings, it's really inspiring. It's an industry shift, I believe.
What is your advice for women who are starting out in the tech space or looking to transition into the industry?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time mentoring the next generation of women leaders. And, one thing that I often say is that you really need to be intentional about how you invest your time in your career, and that changes. You have to know what your priorities are, and that changes as your careers develop, but also as your personal commitments change. I know for me, one of the hardest times that I had was when I went to business school. I actually got married the day before business school, and then I had two kids in business school. It was not a average experience, I think, and at the time, I had a lot of sort of crucible moments about whether or not I should continue. I'd already had a very strong career in law, and whether I should not continue going to business school, commuting between New York and Philly, and having children. So at that time, I really depended on the advice of my mom, who was a stay-at-home mom, and then my mother-in-law, who was an executive, and my husband. And I think with that 360 view that I had from them, I made the decision to finish my degree, which ultimately I was really happy about.
All right, Annabelle, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks.